The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Josh Shigala from the Standard.io.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1. Bitcoin brace to go parabolic after amazing 2017 price breakout repeat. Yes, the mainstream media has nothing to say about Bitcoin as per usual, except for the price, the price, the price, the price, and the price. What does it do? How does it work? Who invented it? We don't care. The price, the price, the price, the price. The new number that they have, Josh, is $350,000 a Bitcoin. What do you think about the new bullish price predictions from the mainstream media?
It's kind of that was the prediction I had, like, I don't know, a year ago or something like that, around about that. Like at its mega peak, and it's way overpriced that it'll come back down. But then it'll go back up. Like it's not overpriced. Like overprices, there's no such thing. Because the Federal Reserve has infinite money, and so it can be theoretically infinitely priced. But yeah, it's again one of these stories. What I find fascinating is that um, there are so many aspects of Bitcoin, and you touched on it there in your preamble. It's like there's so many great aspects about Bitcoin that can be talked about. And some publications do, but most of the time it's just the price. When we're talking deep programmable money, like use your imagination, guys. And maybe they're right. Like maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe all the readers care about is the price. Maybe they like to be reminded, like they've bought some Bitcoin, it's in their little portfolio, and every so often they go, oh look, it's up. Oh, I didn't realize, because it's too stressful keeping it on my Apple Watch. Oh,
I,
it's
I
down.
only get my news about the price from Bloomberg headlines. That's the only place.
Yeah, right. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously what's funny about these headlines is um amazing after amazing 2017 price breakout. Like amazing. I mean, this is typical Bitcoin, and it's always going to be this way unless there's some catastrophic bug in the network. It is always going to go up. Eventually, after it's gone down, it'll go back up because it was the very, very first thing, the crypto digital asset. It wasn't the second, it wasn't the third, it was the first. And so even if there are better protocols, there's a collectivity about being the first. Like I've got one of the first blockchains, I mean, the first blockchain, or the thing that invented rare digital assets. So, and I've got one of the 21 million, that's what people will say. And so collectability on this thing is huge. So to say that it's amazing is kind of funny, but yeah, what do you reckon?
I just think it's funny how many times we go through this story over and over again. If the only thing you knew about Bitcoin was the price, and every few years you hear about it, and read one of two stories. You read the price is way down and it's going to zero, or the price is way up and it's going to infinity. Right? And these are the only two stories that you hear about Bitcoin. You'd never learn anything. You'd never
Yeah.
learn, like you said, Josh, offhandedly there, 21 million. There are only 21 million Bitcoin. Like that's neat. That's like you're saying as a collectible, even if we're just saying cool people on the internet have a Bitcoin. There's only 21 million cool people. You could be one of them. And then we go to
Mm.
the other thing that Bitcoin can be broken up fractionally. So you could buy zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. So there could be even more cool people theoretically, right? And then the way that it works as a distributed network without a single third party that your money goes through, no one can say your money's going to this organization that we don't like, so we're going to block it. You can send your money from anywhere in the world. There's no limit to what kind of money you can send. They don't close on Sundays. They don't close in the evenings for no reason, like the stock market. There's all kinds of these things that you learn about Bitcoin, and each one you learn, you just get more fascinated, and you go down, like Andreas used to say, the rabbit hole. and you suddenly want to
Mm.
know everything about Bitcoin, and you go to conferences and meetups and you meet all these people. If you only know about the price and you only know that it's mystically up or mystically down, and you never learn these other things, you'll never go down the rabbit hole. You'll never
Mm.
get more information that leads you to a tipping point where you're like, that Bitcoin's really cool. I mean, I put it off. I obviously missed the boat a dozen times. We all did. But now I'm going to get in. So I just think these articles, they only make people feel bad. It's more of this financial media that seems to report on the past. Like once something's on the Mad Money show, it's over, right? Like you're not going to buy
Yeah.
Amazon now. Like you're not getting insider scoop on Facebook. And in the same way, with these articles over and over about Bitcoin, no one thinks they're getting the inside scoop. No one realizes that it could go beyond 350. Like you're saying, it might go up, it might retrace, it might go up again, right? If they
Yeah.
knew any of the fundamentals, that there's 21 million, there's no third party to send your money around, that it's similar to Swift or other systems designed by the banking system, yet completely independent, maybe they'd want to learn more. But as it is now, they only want to know about the price. And fortunately, we have the solution for that, the exit question, the magic 8 ball, Josh Shigala, predicting against the ball, the source of all truth in this known universe. Will the price be higher or lower this time next week?
I'm gonna go with higher this week. Yeah, I think it'll it's a sure thing. No, it's not a sure thing, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go higher.
I always think the price is going to be higher. I always think, how could people sell their Bitcoin? How could they not want to buy Bitcoin? Doesn't make sense to me. But every once in a while, they do sell and buy strategically to make more money. But
Who was
the ball knows the truth.
the ball on this?
Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Here we go. It says, yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. So there you go, Josh. All the bulls are rewarded. The ball has spoken. Moving on to issue two. There is a second best. Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor softens on Ethereum. In the wake of the spot Ethereum ETF approvals, the MicroStrategy founder appears to be warming to the notion of a crypto industry bigger than just Bitcoin. And again, this is only logic here. We've talked about this many times. Saylor was held up to a standard that no one could meet. He was lionized as a saint and a hero, despite his partying Silicon Valley past, which was easily available to anyone with a Google search engine. Saylor was held as the king of Bitcoin, the businessman we've always needed, even though he came along at a point where Bitcoin was already on a roll. Nothing he did or didn't do would affect Bitcoin. Bitcoin would continue going forward. This has happened to many of us at many points. It doesn't matter what you do. But now Saylor has cracked and shown a little bit of love for Ethereum. Like we've been saying here, Josh, for quite a long time, there are more cryptocurrencies out there. We do like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's our number one. But like
First
I've said
love.
many times, when it was time to do curio cards or when it was time for you to do the standard, we found that you couldn't program things the way we wanted on Bitcoin, which might be a feature of Bitcoin, right? This might be good that you
Well,
can't
it's
add
the
a bunch
thing
of
that the
crap to it.
Bitcoiners love. Yeah, and they're like, no,
Yeah,
don't upgrade, don't like. They want it's like doublethink for the maxis. They're like, we don't want to upgrade. No way, no. Everything else is a shitcoin that does things anything differently. And oh, you should build that on Bitcoin. Why didn't you build on Bitcoin? Well, hang on. What? Which way? Sorry to interrupt you.
exactly. What are they supposed to do? Build it on Bitcoin, build their own thing. It's interesting to think that maybe if Bitcoiners had been a little more open, they could have kept Vitalik Buterin in the fold. Vitalik originally wanted to build Ethereum on Bitcoin, and with some changes, he might have been able to do it. And like you're saying, Josh, that whole universe of shitty altcoins could have been ours. They could have been connected to Bitcoin. And then everyone could have said, oh, they're okay because they're connected to Bitcoin, that magical thing. But I think it's far past that. I think we're far past purity tests like this. When we create heroes like Michael Saylor, we endlessly tear them down. In the same way, when we have this, you must be a Bitcoin maximalist only, it continues to break down as people change their mind. What do you think,
Yeah.
Josh? Are they going to accept him or continue to attack and chase him away from the community?
Well, I'm pretty sure like the Bitcoin monopolists it will basically state that that Sailor is now some sort of heretic and just tear him down. Like some of these people that are really revered in the industry. So, Andreas Antonopoulos, for instance, absolute champion of Bitcoin, has been, decides to write a book about the virtues of Ethereum as well. Because it's different. It's a different concept. It's not there. It's not trying to do what Bitcoin does, but um, people that refuse to even look at different technologies then say, well, and tear him down as some sort of, shit coiner and just slander. And the fact of the matter is, what did Satoshi invent? He invented a concept that you can build rare digital assets, and Bitcoin is the first. It's fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from it. I hold a vast majority of my holdings in Bitcoin, but Ethereum is also a really interesting protocol, and of course it is. But the thing that Michael Saylor's saying there is that there's a second best. Ethereum works because you can create protocols on there with digital assets to incentivize those projects. And so it's not just a second best. There's a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and there's a whole, coin market cap. Of course, most of those are bubbling nonsense that will pump up and down, and people make and lose fortunes. But at the same, that doesn't sort of just because you go la 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 as a Bitcoin maxi doesn't mean they don't exist, and they do exist. And for me as a competition maximalist, I believe it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Bitcoin. It's a good thing for the industry. It allows Bitcoin to scale because then you don't have all the nonsense sitting on chain on Bitcoin. Because again, another double speak is, oh, Bitcoin can do. Why don't you build that? What? You've built that on Bitcoin? What a load of crap. Don't put your NFTs on this chain. Like, so, well, it doesn't make any sense. Bitcoin is what it is. It's beautiful. It shouldn't change too much because if it does instantly, if it goes wrong, it destroys the whole market for everything because everyone will lose confidence. So, and if Bitcoin did decide to do an upgrade, I would be totally behind it and go for it. Let's try it because these hard forks, the way Satoshi envisaged them is that when a protocol hard forks, it also you get coins on both sides. So, I'm not as sort of solidified on just one Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin can scale, but I also think the scaling solution for Bitcoin is also all of the alts. So yeah, Saylor finally realizing that there's something else. To me, it's just again, Saylor is an amazing talker. He brings up all of the talking points and he manages to remember them all and regurgitate them from everything that the OGs have been saying, like yourself, um, and say them at the right time. And because he's loaded, people listen to him like he's the guru. But now he's going to say all the things that were talked about with Ethereum and why that's also an interesting technological breakthrough to be able to write smart contracts in a mostly immutable, as much as way more immutable or way more trustless than, let's say, FTX is, or a centralized exchange. And the ability to run a DEX, like amazing stuff.
I just think if Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was a Cambridge or a Cambrian explosion, it's going to explode, right? We're not just going to have one or two coins, especially when Satoshi releases the early software as open source. Maybe if they'd had to break the encryption and decompile the binaries and crack the 13 herbs and spices that Satoshi used, it would be a lot harder for Charlie Lee to copy it and make Litecoin, or if Forever made Peercoin and Primecoin and all the other coins back in the day, WorldCoin, the original, all of those. There used to be a lot of coins and there was a lot of experimentation. And I think as Bitcoiners, we could allow this experimentation and just ignore it. And it wasn't a big deal. I think things changed when Ethereum came in there and it became much more professional. Suddenly, it was easier for a company to get funded on Ethereum than Bitcoin. And maybe it was because the Ethereum companies didn't write pitch decks like Samurai Wallet, where we're going to use advantage of the gray market. Or they weren't like maybe Lamassu Bitcoin ATM, where many sad cases of libertarians buying their own ATM to run in a shop ends in them running their own jail sentence with the IRS busting them for running an illegal ATM, which just seems obvious in retrospect. There has to be some agreements to this laws and so forth. And Saylor drifts away from Bitcoin. It just seemed obvious and predictable. I think Josh, he wouldn't be able to hold up that hard opinion so long. But it will be fun, like you say, to see him spout all the Ethereum opinions that we've had over the past few years, where we've been like, yeah, you could be a Bitcoin maximalist, but you also be into other things. And remember, Vitalik invented Bitcoin maximalism to separate us and split us apart, when really we could be having nice conferences with the Ethereum people. We could be having generic cryptocurrency conference instead of having kind of giant scam conferences and very small Bitcoin conferences. So
Yeah,
there are a
but
lot
at
of
the same
options out
time, you
there.
get people like Tone Vays and Jimmy Song just really just slandering anybody that's building anything on anyone else, on any other chain or anything. And sure, there's really bad technologies that fail, but some of the time, like I know, for instance, EOS had some really interesting ideas, and the main devs I have it on the pretty good info that they've pretty much dropped the whole project because the SEC, they're just scared, and so they just built the minimum viable project and then left. Unfortunately, terrible. And who knows? Let's see what will happen future.
Well, it's been strangely clear the whole time that you can make money investing in new projects. Now, maybe not forever. Maybe you can't hold them and make money forever, but there's been money out there, and it's been strange to see maximalists like Tone and Jimmy, who are allegedly interested in money, ignore all of these potential new projects because they are all scams. And this kind
Mm,
of closed door scamminess, I think, sure, they missed a lot of scams, but they missed things like the Ethereum pre-sale or curio cards, where they could have made a lot of money doing not a lot of work. So it
yeah,
is an interesting world, and I think it's expanding. I think it's better for everybody, a multi-coinalism rather than this Vitalik imposed maximalism. But let's keep it
yeah.
moving here. Issue three. Jack Dorsey gave $10 million to a project run by an anonymous dead, not so anonymous anymore, thanks Business Insider, who turned out to be a follower of a fascist guru. This is a pretty strong hit piece by Business Insider on the Nostr project. Nostr is an incredible open source social network that has no one censoring it, and you could do anything you want with it, and is really kind of the dream of Jack Dorsey and many people who worked at Twitter. But they don't focus on that at all. Instead, they focus entirely on doxing this guy, presenting information about who he is, what his background is, and his political beliefs, because he made a couple of websites supporting some fascist guy. Josh Shigala, what do you think about the trouble for Fiat Joff and Noster, who Jack Dorsey gave a lot of money?
I mean, this is why Trump calling out the media as fake, I think is very valid. Like most of the media, they just sensationalize and basically write hit pieces. And I mean, the idea of Project Mockingbird, where Project Mockingbird was designed purely as a vocal arm of the CIA, um, is where it came out. So you've got Project Mockingbird basically building up these mainstream media talking pieces to destroy certain things, certain projects, or certain ideas, or um, or people, or impregnate ideas into the populace as well. So it is a lot of the mainstream media is fake news. It is fake, either by the fact that they just make up headlines, or they focus on certain language. So you can manipulate stuff with doublespeak or doublespeak is a really interesting concept because you can take certain words, say the truth. You can say the truth, but you can say it in a way that basically hides truth or manipulates people's opinion of it. So let's say a doctor screws up some death, they can say it was, and just use different words like it was a manipulation of the an experiment. I don't know, whatever. But you don't need to say, "Oh, the doctor screwed up." You can say it in a way and spin it. And this is typical mainstream media stuff. They'll take him. I don't particularly trust Jack Dorsey anyway. I don't personally like the way he ran Twitter, so I don't really care for him. But the fact of the matter is, the mainstream media, I just don't trust. I just don't trust any of them, whether it's Fox News or CNN or any of them. I just tend to take all of them with a grain of salt. And yeah.
I don't know. I kind of put some of this on Jack. I'm not sure that you can just give money to anonymous developers. As we've seen with Samurai Wallet, there is a desire for software that does illegal things. So if you want to go out there and support that software, that's fine. But that's not what Jack did here. Jack went out and publicly gave the money. So part of the money goes to OpenSats, and that's good and fine. It's an organization. They're going to distribute it to many programmers. But when Jack gives the 14 Bitcoins or 12 Bitcoins, whatever it was, to Fiat Joff directly, he didn't have to take credit for it. Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. Jack could have split his money into smaller piles. He could have donated over time. He could have just done it out of the goodness of his heart. The problem comes when Jack takes credit for it. Now he's taking credit for a donation to an anonymous developer, made himself public, and now people have to judge that donation. Business Insider, while I
Well,
think it was wrong to out the guy and all these things, he does have these links to these websites. He has built them. And that's again why Jack really shouldn't be giving money publicly, kind of randomly, to an anonymous developer. I know he wants to support Nostr, but I think the Open Sats was a much better donation. Go ahead, Josh. You want to push back on that?
yeah, but obviously the doxing is terrible, and I totally concur with that. All I'm saying is that there is um, this the reporting focuses on a fashion, like one, like he followed or had an interest in a character of history. Um, how to why put that word in there? Because you want to flavor people's opinions before they even read the article. And and this is the manipulation that I'm talking about. Uh, I think the word fake news is a bit, it's totally overdone, but there is something there about how media is used to manipulate people's opinions. And just that is a really good example. Like, instead of talking about Fiat Jeff and what he's built in the past and all the cool stuff he's built with Ben Ark and with a lot of other people in the industry, instead focus on that. Like, it's so disingenuous and awful, you know.
Well, I think Nostr has got to prepare for this because one of the big problems with Nostr and any so-called free speech software is they're going to expose the horrible underbelly of the internet, and that's that you
Yeah.
can automate this hate stuff. You can automate horrible pictures, murder, death, pornography, whatever the thing you think the worst thing is, you can automate the heck out of it.
Uh,
And
I,
Nostr
I
specifically and any
absolutely.
other free source project, they're going to be plagued by this to the point where what you're really going to use is some kind of subset of Nostr with like a trusted network where trusted content comes to you. And a lot of people who wanted this Wild West internet are going to be unhappy again because people are going to use some kind of trust filter. Maybe it filters out the F word, something like that. And you'll be like, oh no, now people aren't getting the important knowledge of my F word. But they're got to be prepared for this because they're going to come a lot harder to this when they say they found 35,000 child porn images on Nostr, or they found 50,000 murder images, or torture, or whatever the worst thing you can think of. Because not only is it there on the internet, but you can automate it. And with something like Nostr, where you can just create new servers and keep going, it's going to be one of the problems they're going to have to face. And if they
Yeah,
don't have a media team or they don't have any kind of response, they're going to get beaten badly in the media because
I
in
agree.
one aspect it will be right, the child porn or whatever it is, it will be there, and it will be
Well,
horrible.
this is why I don't go on Nostr myself, because I went on there. I was a very early supporter because open source, all that. But the filtering is terrible, and I don't want to be exposed to this disgusting shit. I don't like, so excuse my pardon my French there, but I open up Nostr and the unfiltered stream is just there, and you're just like, oh, it's like back in the early days of the internet when people first realized they could send stuff over email, and you see some friend would find some awful thing on like rotten.com and just start forwarding it to all this group of, wow, look, someone just got hit by a train, and you're like, you're just in the morning, happy, having your coffee. Oh, check my email. Oh, and you get hit with this image or whatever, and you just, it ruins your whole day. And so I just, this is why actually social networks, I don't envy anybody running a social network, because the worse, and you need people looking and filtering this stuff. Maybe AI can do it later on, but then AI is filtering. So I don't know. I mean, I've talked to the devs in Nostr in the early days about the philosophically, how do you deal with this? And it's a hard problem. It's a hard problem. Free speech is an important thing, obviously, but how do you stop that? And the answer was, you run certain servers will filter. So you join a certain server that you like, and you understand their filtering regime, and you go with it. Maybe that's the future, is that maybe AI is part of that future. And if you want to see an unfiltered version, then you go there, and good old-fashioned police work will take down the awful predators that are using this stuff. But yeah, AI is also on the other side going to make it a spam fest of just absolute disinformation and misinformation, misdirection, and everything else. But that's just the general world that we're going to move into anyway.
Well, back when we could still be optimistic and were reading William Gibson books, he called it cool hunting. And he said that certain people would be cool hunters and they'd go out on the internet and find the cool stuff and report it back to you. I think Neil Stephenson in Termination Shock, quite a few years later, went the other way, where he said the amount of disinformation got so bad that to even look at the internet, you would have to have it filtered. So you would hire a person, and that person would go through your feed, both incoming and outgoing, and filter
Right.
it for you. And maybe now, as we reach this AI era, maybe we think of it more as like an AI person, or maybe a
That's
team of AI persons, like one that, does your gossip, one that does your politics, one that does your local news, and they're all curating different news feeds for you. But again, the key there, like you're saying, is curation. Because if you open up the local news feed, somebody spammed it with 500 Vietnam images, someone spammed it with 3,000 torture images, all kinds of horrible things you don't want to see, from wars and just any kind of bad thing.
yeah. You know
And
what?
this
What
is because we're so fortunate to be on the top of these Twitter things, we don't see all this horrible stuff, but it's definitely there,
it's
underneath
Yeah.
Facebook, underneath Twitter. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is a little bit of a thing on the side here, but I feel like even though we're all so super connected, we're all so in our own bubble because of this sort of algorithmic choosing of the vast data that we wish to look at. And so, back in the day when we had five channels to look at as a society, we'd all go to work and stand around the bubble, the water cooler, saying, "Oh, did you watch Seinfeld? Haha, how George came out." Nah, and we all have something in common to talk about. Now we have nothing in common because I get my own personal stream, you get yours. Everyone's different. Unless there's some real calamity, global calamity, then that gets talked about. But generally speaking, we're all in our own bubble, and it's kind of this push of loneliness, because even though we're all more connected than ever, we're more lonely than ever, according to a lot of surveys. So it might have something to do with the fact that we don't have shared experiences.
See, that's why 2 weeks in a row I get to mention Vonnegut's least popular book, Slapstick, or Lonesome No More, in which he assigned everyone with a random middle name and a random number. So you'd be like a red 15, and I'd be like a red 22, and we'd be cousins because we're both reds. Stuff like that. And your
Yeah,
brothers would all be 22s, and then you'd have little social clubs and meetups. And just like any family, as Vonnegut said, you have some good people, some bad people, some jerks that borrow money from everyone, and you kick them out of the Red 22 Club. And what he said
yeah.
is that people really just wanted more relatives. And they used to
Mm.
have that back in the farm days and back when they lived close to each other. And they just don't have it anymore. So that's why he's proposed to solve it. But let's give the last word on this issue to Jack Dorsey, who, despite us tweeting directly to him about Nostr many times back in the day, He did not find it until much later, but this is his story about discovering Nostr, which is kind of like a dream for him.
Internet, and people kept tweeting at me that I should be looking at Nostr, and I found the GitHub that described it, and it's just like 100% what we wanted from Blue Sky, but it wasn't developed from the company, it wasn't funded from the company, it was completely independent. This paper diagnosed every single problem that we had and that I saw that we were trying to address with this protocol, but was doing it in a very grassroots and simple, dead simple way that felt like the early Twitter to me, where any developer could get on and start playing with Twitter and actually feel it, like feel it immediately. And then I downloaded a client called Damas, and I created an account, and it gives you this public key and secret key, and I could take the secret key and I could log into a completely different client, internet. And
So pretty impressive stuff from Jack. As he says, they tried to develop it in-house at Twitter, but it wasn't a company that could solve this problem. It was an independent team of Fiat Joff and Ben working on Nostr and other projects that Ben's been working on, like LN Bits. So
Yeah, and
definitely
he's
check out
right. Like
Nostr. Go ahead.
the original Twitter was a lot more. It was like they were trying to build a protocol actually, because anyone could use it and anyone had an API. And then all these businesses, and this is again why I don't like the guys, all these businesses sprung up and tried to build on the API, built all these amazing features and tools. And then one day they just cut off the API and said, no, everything's coming in-house. And so they just destroyed massive amounts of startups, like a lot of startups, thousands. So yeah, anyway.
It is funny to see him taking credit for things he'd kind of turned against and for problems that he'd started. And it's a very complicated history there with Jack, but it's good to see him on board with Nostr. And when I watch
Yeah.
that, I really think that that's what the Business Insider article should have been about. Like, sure, it's fun to dox this guy. It's fun to say, he's written 2 web pages about some fascist guy. But really, what's more important than that, because again, this guy didn't get famous for these fascist websites. These weren't successful. What was successful is his contributions to Nostr and to the code, which allows you to send these messages around the internet and for them to go somewhere. That's what they should have focused on. They should have focused on how Jack has this big company, all these people working at Blue Sky and Twitter, all these professionals. He can't make what Fiat, Joff, and Ben got together on their own. And that's the story. That's the exciting part. These
Mm.
websites are not popular. Like, they're the only ones who found these websites that the guy made. I mean, it's unfortunate he's a fan of this guy or whatever, but really, we're looking at his code. We're looking at what his code could allow us to do if everyone works together on it. But keeping
Yeah.
in mind the massive curation and I guess you'd call it censorship if you want to go on the negative side of curation, but the
Mm.
massive censorship that's going to be necessary to keep this horrible part of the internet from rising up into your feed. And you'll know right away when your feed breaks and it breaks through. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting future if we do have to go to these more filtered internets because the real internet is so bad.
Yeah.
But let's keep it moving. Check out the World Crypto Network, where we now have 3,801 videos. I guess a lot of those are shorts because we've been doing shorts lately. But you can check them all out at worldcryptonetwork.com and on our YouTube page. Moving on to issue 3, how Roaring Kitty's wealth went from $53,000 to nearly $300 million and could one day top $1 billion. If GameStop hits $65, Roaring Kitty will reach $1 billion. It doesn't look like it's happening today. GameStop has stumbled 40% after he made a live stream and didn't announce anything new. I think people wanted to say that he'd taken over the company or he had plans for it. Of course, we talked about this a few years ago when meme stops were a big deal. GameStop, AMC were supported by people after the pandemic who thought they had value against the short sellers who thought that they were dead companies and easy targets. It's fascinating. It's happened again within the last few weeks. Roaring Kitty's back. He's claiming, well, I don't know that he's even claimed that GameStop is a buy, but everyone started buying as soon as he started posting memes. Then he revealed that he had held his position. He has, as I said, $300 million in GameStop He could have $1 billion. He could be one of the largest shareholders in the company if it continues. Josh Shigala, what do you think about this meme coin madness? It's not Bitcoin, but it is kind of Bitcoin related, and I think we should just talk about it, as well as the fact that an individual human with $53,000 has a chance, even just a chance, of becoming a billionaire. It's insane.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? I think that the major problem here is that fundamentally people don't like when there's a single person. They become very jealous and jilted and angry, and I think this, I don't know whether it was orchestrated this way or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, before, the meme was GME. You know, it was the GameStop. It was the nostalgia people felt about GameStop. It was about taking down the man that was going against my childhood of going to the GameStop and trading your games. Now it's turned to all about this roaring kitty guy. So it's not about the nostalgia. It's about this roaring kitty guy. Can he become a billionaire? People are like, I don't care about this guy. Like, he is annoying or whatever. Or,
I
sentiment
don't
can
even
change
think we
very, very
get anything
quickly.
if he becomes a billionaire. I mean, he hasn't even said, if I become a billionaire, I will show you pictures of luxury, or I will do cool videos, or even like Mr. Beast, I'll give away 1,000 candy bars to people who are poor. I mean, he hasn't even said he'll do any of those things. And not that he
Right.
has to, it's his money, he can do whatever he wants with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even understand what the public gets if he becomes a billionaire, Josh, other than a really cool story.
Yeah, right. And so I think this is the sentiment why we're seeing 40% down is it, when something's meme based or sentiment based, it goes up, but it also comes down very, very quickly. As they say, um, takes the stairs up and the elevator down. So that just from the fact that he came on, went on his white live stream, and then it collapsed 40% is a big pointer to the fact that narrative is changing from this nostalgic thing about GameStop and moving across to him being the focus. And he was never the focus. He was the mouthpiece of the nostalgia and sort of putting everything together. And saw a couple of cool documentaries about it, but and I lived through it as well. Like, watching this guy, it was amazing. But the GameStop saga. Um, but yeah, uh, it's similar to the meme coins. I think there is value there somehow in some of these wacky things because there is a trend, and trends fundamentally are value, but they lose value very quickly as well. I find it fascinating. I find it really fascinating, the psychology of virality, of trends, um, and how now, because we have rare digital assets, you can actually invest in a trend, is a really interesting aspect of this whole industry. And so, but yeah, I think that's
I think
one thing that
you're
I'm.
getting ahead of a later issue there, Josh, of the trend
All right,
investing. But
right.
yeah, it's been crazy to see his story, and I'm not sure why he came back. At the end of the Dirty Money movie, it says that he made about $35 million dollars and he retired from public life, and he's kind of got a smile on his face. And obviously, it's a Hollywood movie and it's an actor and all those things. But it seemed like a sweet end to the story. This guy was a trader. He had a hard time getting a job with the economy and everything, does a little investing on the side, gets viral on YouTube, has a cool microphone, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, the coming back thing, and at first, I really thought his account had been hacked. It's posting all these crazy memes, no words, no YouTubes, just memes. And then he did come back and made a YouTube, and like you say, Josh, it really disappointed people. I kind of think the reason he came back is he wants his original thesis on GameStop to be correct. That GameStop, despite the fact that no one ever goes there, every time I walk by, it's completely empty. I can't imagine why I'd go there. Even I buy all my games online now. I don't understand the point of it. And if you really want to get old games, you'd go to like a thrift store or an old record store or something like that that might have a deal. Even that's pretty much gone. The old days of Nintendo games at garage sales is long over. So I don't get it. I wish he had come out like people said years ago during the first meme coins. GameStop should take advantage of this. They should turn into crypto. They should turn into Robinhood. They should turn into trading. Have Bitcoin ATMs in their store. Suddenly people come in for Bitcoin, Maybe they come, they play games, they hang out. They could make it a hang, make it a software, like a soda counter where you could play video games, or an arcade, something like that. Change the company. If he had had any vision where he said, GameStop has a lot of locations and a lot of employees, and I'm going to leverage this to make money, and that's why I've been buying the company, that would have been great. And I think it would have skyrocketed. I think it was a lack of any kind of vision other than, I like the stock, which seemed to work great years ago. And I love the movie. It's got incredible music. I love the story of kind of small, normal people like myself making money in the stock market, and some of them losing the money as well. And as well as the separation between us and these hedge fund people. I just watched John Oliver's great piece this week on Red Lobster, the restaurant here in the United States that was bought by one of these hedge funds. The hedge fund took all the real estate from the company, sold it, then rented it back to the company, causing the restaurant company to go out of business because they never had the ability to pay for their real estate. And this has happened over and over again. And it's great to see them take one on GameStop for the short sellers to lose $5 billion. But I do think they're striking back. I don't know if Roaring Kitty is going to get $1 billion. Let's go to the exit question. Josh Shigala, everything on the line. Does Roaring Kitty get $1 billion? Yes or no?
No.
Earlier this week, I thought it was looking good. The YouTube and the disappointment are going to be hard to overtake. I'm going to go no. He doesn't get $1 billion, but he might win on his options. He needed it to stay above a certain point by the 21st. He might win on that. Let's keep moving here. We've got another giant issue. Issue 4. Robinhood acquires global crypto exchange Bitstamp for $200 million. Also related to the last story, as of course many people used Robinhood to buy their AMC and GameStop stocks during the meme crisis of years ago and today. And now Robinhood has acquired Bitstamp. Bitstamp, a European cryptocurrency exchange founded in 2011, the world's longest running cryptocurrency and exchange, as a European alternative to the then dominant exchange Mt. Gox. So a major purchase here for Robinhood, a major exit for Bitstamp. Josh Shigala, you've been in the game a long time, even in the European market. You probably remember Bitstamp. What do you think about Robinhood buying them for $200 million?
Yeah, big shout out to Damien. I've spoken to him once, and I think it's great. I think it's great that the brand can live on. It always scares me when Bitstamp only had one major calamity happen, which was I don't think which was I think covered. I don't think anyone lost money, but there was a bit of a problem there years ago. But apart from that, I don't think they've had any other issues. So they've been a solid exchange. They've been a good player in the market. It always does worry me when an exchange gets bought out because new people tend to take over, and the security in these exchanges is so it's one of these things, right? Security in crypto, it's very, very, very difficult, and when a new team takes over, who knows? Are they going to keep the security the same? We'll see. But yeah, I think it's fascinating that they've been around for so long. Wish them all the best. Robinhood, I don't know. What I also find fascinating is that Robinhood's main focus is zero fee trading, right? If I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, I wonder what they'll do with the pricing of the trading fees on Bitstamp, if they're going to remove the fees and just go with the spreads or
Well, I
market
remember,
making.
like they said in the movie, they finance, or allegedly, they finance the zero fee trading by front running their customers and selling that information. So if you assume they're front running your trades on GME, and now they're just going to front run your trades on Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah. And there still hasn't been any major fallout against like turning off the buy button for GME. Yeah.
They said in the credits of the movie that the court case was dismissed. It seemed really open and shut to me, but for whatever reason, dismissed.
Yeah.
But I think what they've really bought, and I think in many ways they've already been hacked, Robinhood just bought a list of old Bitcoiners. This is a really
Mm.
valuable list, the customer list of Bitstamp. Obviously, it's a European exchange. I've never really used it or been involved with it. But like you say, Josh, it's always been there. It's never had major troubles, except as Wikipedia says, in January 2015, they suspended their service after a hack, which less than 19,000 Bitcoin were stolen. What a funny way of stating it, less than 19,000. That's an incredible amount of money and Bitcoin, and will continue to get worse, as we know here. But it is funny how these early losses, like it was very easy for a normal person to have and lose thousands of Bitcoin back in the
Mm.
day, but even in 2015. So yeah, I have nothing for or against it, but I just do think Robinhood's bought an old list. It's not exactly good for people when these old companies sell to these new companies. They're obviously going to try to, make the best of that list as they can. And in list related news, if you use the popular CoinGecko tracking software, which you might have to use after FTX bought Blockfolio, again, acquiring a list of crypto people, it's a trend. CoinGecko has been hacked, according to an email I received before the show. So once again, trying to track your crypto portfolio leads to getting you on a list, leads to you getting hacked, leads to, God forbid, what could happen. But yes, hopefully Robinhood's fine with it and nothing bad will happen. But as you said, Josh, congratulations to Bitstamp, everybody that worked there from the beginning, having a quality Bitcoin exchange, allowing people to buy and sell, make their decisions. That's a noble thing, and they did that for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more stories, mainly just kind of grab bag. Alistair Mill writes in and says that the amount of Bitcoin inflowing to the ETFs yesterday was $886 million, and that's 27 times the daily mined Bitcoin supply. So as we continue to head towards this supply shock of Bitcoin crisis, where the halving causes the supply to go down, eventually everyone buys it up, and then the price goes crazy. That seems to be happening. Got an interesting story here. It says that Trump's eldest son floats a plan to flee America for a crypto-fascist regime in El Salvador, which would seem like a joke, but basically everyone thinks the Trump family has an escape plan in the event of anyone face punishment. Just briefly, I agree it would be absurd for any American president or his family to flee the United States. But Josh, what do you think? Is El Salvador a legitimate possibility for the Trumps fleeing America?
I don't think they'd flee America. I mean, even Trump said, if I go to prison, I go to prison. Um, yeah, so let it be. I think fundamentally, if anything was to happen there, I really hope that America comes back together a little bit more, because seems so separated. It seems so divided, and it's not good. It's not good. Um, yeah.
That would be good, Josh. I'd like that. But yeah, I don't think it's much of a story, but it's just crazy that they would even float the idea, even that an American president or his family would think about fleeing. When we currently have the other side, Hunter Biden having a gun trial today. Obviously, there are people that do get busted. There are reasons to run and flee. I just thought it was funny that Bitcoin and El Salvador was tied up in it, and the way that the larger soap opera of the Trump family is now getting into the smaller soap opera that we're in Bitcoin and El Salvador, which of course we've talked about many times. We've got one more story on the show, and it's all about meme coins. It's quite a doozy here, so try to keep up if you haven't seen these before. A Solana developer set himself on fire to market his meme coin called Dare. He doused himself in isopropyl alcohol, had his friends shoot fireworks in his direction during an event, and the worst case happened. He was caught on fire. He was not prepared for the outcome. This is disappointing. The group attempted to extinguish the fire with water bottles. Third-degree burns. Very sad. Sorry to hear that, man, but he's promoting his meme coin. We also have most celebrity tokens, as we talked about last week, are down 66% since Jenner token bizarre debut, which many people thought her account might have been hacked because it was just sloppy. It was like, here's a link to a website, and it was pump.fun. It was just really weird. Iggy Azalea is doubling down after launching Mother and, of course, launching the failed Iggy coin, which their developer allegedly stole the $365,000 from first. Then she launched Mother. Now she's launching Mad Lads PFP, another one of those profile picture things. And her memes are making $194 million in a week. She's the only one surviving, and she's interacting with the crypto community. Looks like the picture doesn't load here, but we'll see if we can get it here on Twitter. It's a Photoshop picture that she tweeted of Vitalik Buterin breastfeeding, and it says he was just hangry. He is breastfeeding from Iggy Azalea, who is calling herself now the queen of crypto or something, and taking it over.
Oh, how original.
Vitalik himself has been critical. I don't know where the tweet went, but he's been critical of these meme coins, saying that he understands raising funds for a hospital or some kind of good. He doesn't understand these meme coins. But what do you think, Josh? The guy set himself on fire. The coins are down 66%, all but this Iggy Azalea, who seems to be hanging on.
Oh, I absolutely understand it. This is what pop culture is. You know, pop culture is the proliferation of cult of personality, and if people can buy into that hype, why wouldn't they? Of course they would. Not saying that adds any value whatsoever into society. It absolutely doesn't. But it's a thing, and to reject that it's a thing is kind of like putting your fingers in your ears and going la la la. Like it's a thing. So. And it will always be. In fact, this is where I think I mentioned this on the last show, Max Kaiser's original idea and where he made money way before Bitcoin was invented was the celebrity exchange idea, where people traded celebrities on an exchange, and he made some good money on that. And then Bitcoin came along and he bought Bitcoin. But obviously, this is why celebrities are interesting in the future. But I don't know actually why if the future has celebrities, just sort of throw back to what we were saying before, where everybody gets their own personalized feed, AI being able to generate people, generate songs, generate movies for an audience of one. I think it could also be the death of the celebrity. Obviously, there's always going to be some celebrities that are human, but yeah, I don't know how much a future of celebrities actually have as a thing, but definitely holding some sort of stock, even though it's not totally tied to them. Like there's no dividends on their success or anything, but it's you're buying something that hopefully they've created, and it's, you know, you can buy it. But obviously there's also many scams, because anyone can launch a crypto.
Yeah, I don't know, Josh. I think you've changed everything I was going to say here. Originally, I was going to come out and say the celebrities shouldn't do this and they shouldn't have meme coins. But you're right, with the advent of AI, this might be their last chance to basically turn their celebrity status into money. Yeah. Originally, I was going to say things like this is the Smurfs and Iggy Azalea is Gargamel, gathering up the Smurfs, her fans, and melting them down, turning them into gold. Right? How great it is. She finally found a way to turn her fans into gold, selling them music, selling them whatever else she sold them. That wasn't good enough. They should just give her the gold directly. So at that point, I'm kind of horrified by it. And I do kind of agree with Vitalik here, where they're just raising money for the point of raising money. They don't have anything like, she's not raising for a hospital or for a good cause or to help the world. Maybe she could. Maybe someone else like Mr. Beast or Taylor Swift will come along and use this meme coin concept to actually do good. And we'll have to sit here on the side and say, well, everyone's going to lose their money, right? It's going to peak and it's going to go down. But they're building a bunch of hospitals, so that's good. So it becomes something like maybe the state lottery, where you don't like it because people are investing in it, but you do like it because it supports a very small fraction of a percentage into education. If someone like Beast or Taylor Swift or even Iggy Azalea decided to put a large percentage of the profits, 30%, 50%, 100% Why not? You're already wealthy from doing your other work. Why not give back to the community? So I do think, just like with many things in crypto, it can be the greatest thing, it can be the worst thing, and it depends what you want. And the same thing with the Iggy thing. She could make more money. This could be great. It could horribly crash. She could do a U-turn and start building hospitals. We have no idea where it's going to go, but I do think it's fascinating. And even though it's not Bitcoin, we wanted to bring it to you guys as a fascinating story on meme coins.
Yeah,
Josh, do you have any more on Iggy Azalea? And
well,
also shout out to the guy who set him on fire. We should talk more about that. Go ahead, Josh.
yeah, that poor. I mean, gee, that's really Darwin Awards stuff. It's just these young idiots that trying to rise above with their marketing and just
Well,
terrible.
and not that we're, anything involved in meme coins, but as Andreas said on the show, I think it was in the first 10 episodes or so, he talked about Joey Coin. And this really stuck with me and helped influence me on curio cards. And sure, I always like baseball cards and magic cards and all those things as well. But I think we're at the point with Solana, and again, haven't looked into it personally, where for about $10, I think you could launch Joey Coin. And whether if you're successful, like Iggy Azalea's version of Joey Coin, Iggy Coin or whatever, or Mother Coin, it could be worth millions and millions of dollars. And
Mm.
so I think that what that developer guy was looking for was, what's the difference between my Joey Coin and Iggy Azalea's Joey Coin? And he thought by having that stunt light himself on fire, which we've seen dozens of stunts be successful from all the jackass guys over the years, MTV show here in the States where they do pranks and hurt themselves for money and for fun. If
Yeah.
you could do that and support your meme coin, I think they're looking for to bridge that gap. And they don't know
Mm.
where it is, and they don't seem to have any bottom for what it is that they'll do with hurting themselves, hurting other people, hurting their reputation, doing disgusting acts. I think we're going to see more of this. I think that we're going to say in the future we're going to see that was the first guy to set himself on fire to promote a
Yeah.
meme coin.
Yeah, I've got some of the first coin of the guy that set himself on. Yeah, like who knows? Yeah, it's a weird world out there, and to reject that it is a weird world is just gonna lose you capital. You know, obviously it's gonna lose you capital. But one thing before that we move on, last thing about this Iggy thing. These headlines are also disingenuous. To say its market cap is 90 million, she's made all this money. If she tried to sell hardly any of that. There's just these coins don't have much volume. You know, meme coin makes 194 million. I don't know. Like, what is that? A market cap number there or what? You know, and so
It's also important who owns these coins. I've heard that she said she didn't own very much of her coin, and they followed this wallet to that wallet and this one to that one. And they say now they think, allegedly, I don't know the details, of course, but that she owns 30% of her coin. So if you own it, if you're buying and selling it, if you're stockpiling it, you can affect the price of it. But I do agree, Josh, this is one of the scariest things about cryptocurrency and all these things we've always talked about. If I print 100,000 coins and I sell one to you for $1, I have a market cap of $100,000.
yeah,
I can't sell it, right? It's not
yeah,
liquid. There's not enough people to buy there. Like you say, if Iggy tried to cash out starting at 194, it would have very quickly down as people realized what was going on and also started selling
yeah,
lower than her, causing the price to go down. We would see huge crashes, and I think we've probably already seen these in Jenner and other meme coins. And I think we're going to see
yeah.
this in the future, but I still think there's got to be a guy out there like my friend who was all happy with oh, what was that? The coin where the guy yelled on stage and stuff. He had bought that one early and
Big
he had
Connect.
sold it early. Yeah, BitConnect. He bought it early, he sold it early, and he was happy. And he was like, "Yeah, I made money. I'm done with it." Many other people bought it at the wrong time, sold at the wrong time. So I think just like with that, there's somebody out there right now who's like, "I'm happy with the meme coin. I bought it at this, I sold it at that. I'm out. I'm in, I'm out. That's it." So
Mm.
there are going to be winners here and there are going to be losers, but it's crazy to see it bubble over from just Doge and Shiba Inu, and I guess there's a dog coin now, and
I mean,
then
we
to see
both
these
know guys that
actual
have made a mint
celebrities.
on Pepe coin and stuff. So it's just, it's a wild world out there.
Well, it's the stranger things too. You'd never think that Pepe would be so valuable, given at the time it was pretty much a hate symbol and it was so difficult to get and all those things. But yeah, it takes off. Maybe in the future, people are collecting, ironically or semi-ironically, this mother token. We have no way of knowing, and maybe her fans stick it in. Maybe they don't get scammed. But let's go to the exit question. I'll go ahead and predict first. I think her fans are going to lose everything. They're going to get scammed. All these meme coins are going to zero, especially if they don't have a plan. We talked a couple weeks ago about a band, I think it was called Avenged Sevenfold, and they had an NFT package, and you could buy the NFT and get discounts to the concerts and get on the mailing list and all that kind of stuff. I think if you have one of those, and the way to get it is to pay with Taylor Swift coin, it's very successful, very smart. Have your own ecosystem. Takes a lot of work to develop that. It's not 5 minutes and $10 putting on the Solana thing. It's not having your friends light yourself on fire with fireworks. It's developing a whole ecosystem and actually rewarding your fans, giving them a reason to buy and purchase your token. I'm not seeing that so far. So until I see that, memes coins to zero, buyer beware, caveat emptor. Josh Igala, what do you think? Predict the future of the meme coins. What happens next?
They'll boom and bust. They'll always be around. There will always be a circus of trends being traded, and that's just how it will be. I don't see any way that it's not. And this is why I just laugh at all these Bitcoin monopolists who just want one Bitcoin. You know, yeah, what? It's just it's just a weird thing to predict. It's never going to happen.
Well, and one more time because I flipped by it in the tab. Here's Iggy Azalea, famous pop star who has photoshopped or had someone else Photoshop or found on the internet a Photoshop of Vitalik Buterin, who I used to know at the Bitcoin meetups and stayed at my friend Jeremy's house and rode in my car once, who became a billionaire and met Vladimir Putin, who is now on Twitter being breastfed by Iggy Azalea. What a crazy world. What a crazy world. Obviously, it's a Photoshop and so forth, but hilarious, amazing. What a crazy world. But we're running out of time for today, so we're going to go to predictions or story of the week. Josh Igala, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Story of the week. I got a little puppy, and unfortunately, he's having heart issues. So ask everyone to, if you're a praying person, help. If that helps, that'd be cool. But yeah, he's just always out of breath. He's breathing at about 106 breaths per minute. He's a little black German Shepherd pup, and yeah, so we're gonna see what we can do to help him out. But yeah, that's kind of awful. But he's a trooper. He's a little trooper, and he's such a good dog. He's always right next to me whenever I walk. He's up looking up, and he's a good little guy.
We do the best we can with animals. Sometimes it's not so long, and sometimes it's longer, but we give them all the love we have, and I know the dog gets to play with your kids and stuff and your family, and that it's just a positive environment for a dog. So even if it's a short amount of time, it's good that we can give them that environment. And I know a lot of people out there. I hope you guys have cats and dogs, and we all have the same story, and we all just love our animals. So sad to hear that, Josh. But I just want to give a shout out to everybody who got to the end of the show today. Give us a thumbs up, give us a surfer emoji or a wave down below. Thanks for joining us. It's hard to keep these shows going, especially in the summer. A lot of people on vacation, a lot of schedule overlap problems here. But thanks to Josh for sticking in and helping us do this show. And thanks everybody for watching it. And hey, we got the same microphone as Roaring Kitty. We've got a Magic 8-Ball. Does this mean we get $1 billion soon? That sounds fun. I'll build some hospitals. Not opposed to it. But thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.